real GDP deflator. The formula for the real GDP deflator is nominal GDP divided by real GDP, and this will give you the real GDP deflator. Let's go ahead and plug in some numbers here. Let's say that the nominal GDP, which includes inflation, is $19.158 trillion, and that the real GDP that doesn't include inflation or expected inflation is 18.6. Figure for the real GDP deflator. When you divide 18.6 into 19.158, you get a real GDP deflator of 1.03. Let's look at this formula and try to figure out the nominal GDP. To figure out the nominal GDP, we're going to multiply both sides times the real GDP. So we'll multiply the left side times real GDP, and we'll multiply the right side times real GDP. This then will eliminate the real GDP over here because that would be equal to 1. So the nominal GDP is equal to the real GDP deflator times the real GDP. Well, we know that the deflator was 1.03 and that the real GDP was 18.6. And when you multiply this 1.03 times 18.6, you're going to get 19.158. Let's take this formula now and try to figure the real GDP. To figure the real GDP, we're going to divide both sides by the real GDP deflator. So we'll divide the right side by the real GDP deflator, and then we'll divide the left side by the real GDP deflator. And as you can tell on the right side, the real GDP deflator is eliminated because that's 1. And so the real GDP is equal to the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP deflator. You remember from our earlier discussion that the nominal GDP was 19.158 and the real GDP deflator was 1.03. And if you divide 1.03 into 19.158, you get a real GDP of $18.6 trillion. The real GDP deflator tends to be a really good indication of what inflation is because real GDP, don't forget, includes C, I, G, X minus M, so it encompasses all parts of the economy.